In this video, I'm going to show you just how quickly and easily you can replace and install a brand new kitchen faucet. It doesn't take very many tools and it doesn't take a whole lot of time, and I'm also going to cover along the way a couple of mistakes that are very commonly made when installing these new kitchen faucets, how to avoid them and get this installed properly. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So these are essentially the tools that will be needed for this particular install. Now, some people will be wondering what in the heck this is for. Well, this is a tool that is included with a lot of your Moen faucets. This is essentially a large socket for the locking nut that holds a lot of their faucets down to your countertop. If we flip it up here to the top, you'll see it looks exactly like a socket here. And then it's got some holes in it here at the top and then also down here at the bottom. This is for if you need to get some extra torque to either loosen or tighten. You can then take a screwdriver of varying lengths, it really doesn't matter, put it into those holes, and now you're able to get a little bit more torque on that locking nut. So this is a super useful tool that Moen includes with their faucets. Also, an adjustable wrench, just in case you feel like you aren't able to get enough torque using the Moen tool. An adjustable wrench is definitely going to do the job. And you're also going to want an adjustable wrench for your cold and hot water lines to loosen and tighten them as well. And then of course I already showed what the screwdriver is for. And of course, I'll have links for all the tools down in the description down below, including some links to some Moen kitchen faucets that I really recommend that are going to include this tool. So I'll have links for everything down in the description down below. When you click on those links, it'll take you directly to whatever you clicked on, so you can check them all out for yourself. All right, so the first thing I want to do before I do anything is make sure that my water is turned off that's going to my faucet. So we're going to have our hot and cold lines that we need to turn off, and of course these are going to be located underneath of the sink itself. So just have to turn them clockwise until they are shut off. Then I'm going to come up here to the top where the faucet is. I'm going to turn on the hot side first just to make sure that it's drained out and off, then to the cold. And we got no water, so now we're good to go. All right, so before I remove the locking nut, in order to then remove the faucet, I need to disconnect and remove the hose that is going to the head of the faucet. So it's as easy as just depressing this button right here, and then this hose will come right out. All right, so now I need to work on getting the faucet detached, and there's gonna be a couple of locking nuts on here that I need to remove or loosen up to get that faucet out. The first one is this black one right here. This one isn't really doing a whole lot, but I do need to get it removed so I can slide the other locking nut down and remove it. I also need to remove this weight from it so it can be pulled out. And this weight is for if you have one of those retractable heads like is on this faucet and the one I'll be installing. So when you go and push that head back up into the faucet, it slides right back up and holds into place. And it's as easy to remove as flipping this little flap up right here, and then it just opens right up and you can take it off. And now I can just remove and pull the faucet head and hose all the way out of the faucet. All right, so now that that's out of the way, there's a little locking nut that's up there at the top where you see that gold stem right there. At the very top is that black locking nut. Now I just need to use either a wrench, or in this case, I'm going to use the tool that Moen supplies with the new faucet. This is essentially a plastic socket that fits right over that locking nut, and then I'm able to easily twist that locking nut off and ultimately remove it, which then also allows me to remove all of the hardware that is holding this faucet on the sink. Now I've got that locking nut removed, now I need to remove my water lines from my hot and cold side, and I'll do that just by using an adjustable wrench. Again, before doing this, you want to make absolutely sure that your water is in fact turned off. And they're going to slowly drip a little bit, so you're going to want to make sure that you have a towel underneath of it so that the underside of your cabinets don't get wet and ultimately warp. And now we can fully remove that bracket that is basically acting as a vise holding the faucet down to the sink. And now that all that is removed and disconnected, we can now just take the kitchen faucet and pull it out of the hole that's going below the sink. And now we can take our new kitchen faucet and start installing it. But before we insert the hoses, there's a very important step that needs to be done that gets overlooked quite often. Now what a lot of people will do is when they're ready to install their new kitchen faucet, they'll just go ahead, run their hoses down underneath of the sink, mount it down into place, and then go underneath the sink and attach everything. But they oftentimes forget that this washer right here is a very important step to this install. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that all back out. So this washer has two sides to it. As you can see down on the bottom side of this, there's a flange, and then up here on top, this is flat. Well, it matters which way this gets installed. Some people that do remember to install this will install this upside down with the flat side up, and this is not going to do you any good. You want that flange on the other side to be up and going up into the faucet itself. This is going to help with not only mounting it and keeping it in place and nice and flush with your countertop, but its biggest job is making that seal watertight. Water is not then seeping underneath of the bottom of your kitchen faucet and then down underneath of your sink into your cabinet area, which can cause a lot of water damage, especially to your cabinets. So with that top portion of that flange facing up, I'm going to take my hoses. I'm going to run it right through that seal. For the first two, our hot and cold hoses, and then our quick connect right there, we're going to run that through there as well, and then run it all the way up into the bottom of the kitchen faucet. But one thing to quickly note before I insert my hoses down into the hole there is some of you might actually have 3 holes in your countertop for your different lines going down. Your new faucets are oftentimes going to include these as well, and then there's also a seal that goes up underneath of that. And so then it'll take those 3 holes, cover it up very nicely with this nice trim piece, and it'll sit like that on your countertop. All right, so now at this point, I can insert my lines down through that hole, down into below the sink, and then also just kind of dry fit my new faucet for where I want it to sit. Now, if you remember this bracket that I took off of my old faucet, they do not include a new one with the new faucet. They just include this bracket where the center goes through here and then your hoses are off to the side in this cutout area. And in most cases, this is going to work perfectly fine. Obviously, as this is all that they include in order to lock it down, vise it down in place onto your countertops. But for me personally, I'm just going to reuse this bracket since it was there. If you don't have one of these already, that's fine. You can just install this. But since mine was already there, I do think this will help displace the pressure that's put on the countertops and then also give it more strength so that faucet can't just be bent one way or the other, and then this will then go in on top like so. So I'll just take all of my hoses, feed them through that center portion of that. All right, so now as you can see, we've got our brackets all the way at the top. Now I just need to tighten down this locking nut and then vise it up against the countertop, which is then gonna hold everything in place nice and tight. And now that that locking nut is tightened down and our faucet is firmly in place, now I can take the quick connect side of the hose that goes to the faucet head and just run that down through the faucet and then down underneath the sink into the cabinet. And then of course our last nut, which is more of just a strain relief. It just gets briefly screwed onto the bottom there. And now to this point, I can take my quick disconnect and connect it to the female disconnect coming from the faucet valve. Now we need to install our weight that then retracts the faucet head up into the faucet. And again, it's as easy as just opening up this flap right here. Inside there's a little plastic piece, we just take that out. You see this yellow tape on the hose itself. We're just going to put it right below that yellow tape, clamp it on. Now that's in place. Now we can install our water lines, one to the hot, one to the cold. If you find that when you turn the water back on, depending on which way you want the handle to be for hot or cold, if it's in the opposite direction as to what's coming out, then you just need to switch up these lines and it'll fix that problem. Now we can take our new faucet head and just screw it onto the hose that's coming out of our new kitchen faucet. And now that will retract all the way up into the faucet itself. So now at this point we can go ahead and turn on our water lines. Make sure we don't have any water coming down or any leaking first. And now we can test out the kitchen faucet. So on our cold setting, we have plenty of water coming through. Let's go ahead and turn it to hot. A little bit of air being pushed through, and so now we've got our hot side coming through. And that also lets us know that the valve inside is working as well, because clearly it was switching between hot and cold. On this particular faucet head, there's 2 different settings. You can also put it to shower setting, or you can just have it on your standard setting as well. And of course, you're able to pull the hose out and move it however you would like. And of course, like always, I'll have links for everything you saw in this video down in the description down below. When you click on those links, it'll take you directly to whatever you clicked on, so you can check them all out for yourself. So as you saw, super easy to do, didn't take very many tools, and really shouldn't take a whole lot of time. Around 15 to 30 minutes is about the time that you could expect for this particular install. Now, if you found value in this video, then you'll definitely find value in a video that I did in the past where I go over the proper ways to unclog a sink drain without using those harsh chemicals, which in reality don't do a very good job of unclogging drains at all. It's just a little bit of time goes by and they're clogged again. So in that video, I'll show you how to easily unclog a drain so it stays unclogged for a very long time. If that's of interest to you, all you have to do is click on this video right over here and it'll take you directly to it. So I hope that you found value in this video, and if you did, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button right down below. And of course, if you have any questions or comments still, you can leave those down in the comment section. And I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.